Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in today's podcast, we're going to be looking ahead to the kickoff to the new season. And joining me this evening to look ahead, to preview the upcoming EPL season, we have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, Christoph, welcome back. We've been on a break, we've been on a holiday. Pre-seasons are now over, and the EPL season 2024-2025 is about to kick off in earnest. First set of games coming up this weekend. But talk to us, Christoph. What are you looking for in this upcoming Premier League season?
I'm looking for exciting attacking football for a majority of the season. I'm not looking for teams to be playing defensive and weak and especially not at home. I don't expect teams to be turtling at home and then trying to maybe get a late goal on the counter attack. I want to see teams playing expansive football, going out and trying to get the win.
Indeed, that's what we all would hope that will take place in the EPL, but we know oftentimes it comes down to tactics, it comes down to coaching philosophy, and coaches pretty much setting up their teams not to lose rather than going out for the win, especially in terms of the financial outlay and the sort of quality players that top teams are able to bring in when compared to those lesser teams. I would say, over the off season, a number of clubs made some impressive signings, I would say. Any standout signings over the off season that stands out to you, Christoph? We saw Solanke going to Tottenham, for example. That's a big signing right there. Tottenham Spurs were missing a number nine. They have now acquired a number nine from Bournemouth, one of the top strikers last season in terms of goal tally. Uh, a number of other players making moves. Manchester United, I'm hearing signing two big defenders, Euro and Delight from Bayern Munich. So they are looking to make some moves and some splash. And of course, Arsenal, chasers of Manchester City, also making some transfer movement themselves. But any standout for you? Any player that moves the needle, so to speak?
I would say not really. The Solanke to Tottenham, I think it's probably a good move for them. Given their issues with number nine last season, we know Richarlison did his best season ever last season, I believe, but he spent a lot of time injured. So having another number nine who can fill that void or even potentially take that starting berth is very good. And Dominic Solanke was one of those top goal scorers last season. I believe he was third overall with 19 goals behind Haaland with 27 and Cole Palmer with 22.
Oh,
But
and Watkins as well. So he may have
what what
actually been maybe fourth.
no, Watkins was fourth.
Oh, Watkins
With
was
also
fourth.
19. He was tied at
Oh,
19,
okay,
but
gotcha.
Watkins was fourth. I'm a bit surprised. I haven't seen anybody try to poach Watkins, I think Watkins was probably the best goal scorer last season, given that all his goals were from open play,
Yeah,
no
definitely.
set pieces, no penalties. So
I
that's
mean, he would
something
have
that
definitely
teams.
cost a pretty penny. I'm sure Aston Villa has no reason to actually sell Watkins. I mean, they're playing Champions League football. He's under a long-term contract. And Aston Villa are in really no rush to cash in on this magnificent asset. Top player, top assist man as well. And he'll be hoping to take that forward into this new EPL season. So it will definitely, yeah, Aston Villa will definitely be one of those teams, Christoph, that I'm looking forward to seeing. How do they manage playing in the EPL and playing in the Champions League as well? We saw that had a detrimental impact on Newcastle last season, for example. Newcastle was that surprise team which came up, finished top four, and this time around it was Aston Villa who surprised everyone by
But
finishing in the top
New,
four position.
Newcastle did happen to suffer the banning or suspension of who was supposed to probably be a key
Ah,
player
well, I
for
mean,
them.
that's one player, Tonelli. I mean,
Right, right,
Tonelli.
right, right, right. But Tonali was their start was going to be their key man, but Newcastle also suffered a very long injury list last season. I
Well, I
mean,
guess
it
that's part
happens.
of,
You have to have a big enough squad to
participating
play
in
in
multiple
multiple
competitions.
competitions, right? But also, it's a team who was not already equipped to play this, but we know Aston Villa has Unai Emery, a manager who has played Champions League football, so he would have made arrangements for that. He would have had his
Mm.
plans laid out, multiple Europa League titles under his belt.
Yeah, and they've made a number of signings as well. I must say, Onana from Everton coming across the bolster their midfield, having lost Douglas Luiz to Juventus. We see a couple defenders coming in as well. So they are looking to bolster their squad, but definitely it will be interesting to see if they can manage Europe and manage the EPL simultaneously. Looking on, I say no. I think they will somewhat regress. I don't really see them finishing in the top four. In fact, it might be a case where Newcastle takes their position. Newcastle not participating in Europe and will pretty much have, one EPL game each week to concentrate on. And they definitely look like one of those teams that may challenge for that Champion League spot. But as you say, quality manager is there. So I'm not gonna write them off the bat. But it would definitely even be more impressive this time around if they were to cope with Europe and also manage to finish in the top four of the EPL. It will definitely be an interesting season coming up. But any other teams you're looking forward to, Christoph? I mean, Arsenal should be winning the league this time around, Christoph. The third time must be the charm.
Um, I don't know if third time must be the charm, but I would say this season definitely Arteta must deliver some silverware, whether it be the FA Cup, the Champions League, or the EPL. Some silverware, some important silverware must be won this season for the money spent and the development that we've seen so far. To me, so far, I don't think Arsenal squad is quite there as yet. It looks to me like Arteta is not particularly worried about goals in the Arsenal team. We've not seen him go out and get any goal scorers, and not necessarily a striker, but any player who is known for scoring goals. We haven't seen him done that, but we have seen him shore up the defense. He's went and got Calafiori to play on that left hand side to
Well, I mean, you've
last
been singing
season
about
I've been
Zinchenko
singing.
all of
I,
last
I,
season.
we saw it in the
So,
preseason as well, where Zinchenko was liable against Liverpool in the preseason game, betting beat by Salah.
so are you not expecting Zinchenko to start come opening day?
The beginning of the season against Wolves, I expect Zinchenko will probably start, but against bigger, better opposition, I'm not expecting to see Zinchenko against the likes of uh Liverpool, Man City, Aston Villa, even United. I'm not expecting to see Zinchenko. Chelsea, not expecting to see Zinchenko starting those games.
So the
Um,
top teams then, he'll probably get a run out against the lesser teams,
he will.
which, the Arsenal defense may not be as tested as
Team
opposed to the bigger teams competing up there at the top of the table.
teams were probably going to dominate possession wise. You'd probably see Zinchenko playing those games in order to help bolster up the possession and attacking options as well coming inside because he's very good with the ball. It's without the ball that we have the issue for him.
Definitely, definitely. And of course, Chelsea continues to make several signings, Christoph. Can they get it right? Can the manager, who is a new manager, find that formula that lift Chelsea out of the doldrum they find themselves in after
Um,
again making several signings?
Based on the preseason, I don't often read too much into preseason unless it has gone disastrously or if it's gone far too well. For Chelsea, it's kind of been disastrous in my opinion. So it's something to look at. I don't think they're getting it right. I have no clue what they're doing over there at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, a lot of, I would say, poor signings. They did, however, sign what I would classify as a quality signing, possibly their best signing in all the signings they've been making. They signed that attacker there from Wolves. Uh, remind me of his name.
I mean, not
Yeah, he's at Wolves. He plays on the wing. His name eludes me right now, but I think he's a quality signing that they made recently.
Pedro
And
Neto.
right, Neto, right. And he should bring some attacking firepower to that Chelsea squad. So Moves still being made. Obviously, the
So,
coach needs time to work with the
so
team, get them to gel,
Pedro
etc.
Neto, is that supposed to be a replacement for the 100 mil that they spent on
Well, he's a
Modric?
winger. He's a winger, so possibly, definitely. I mean, at some point you have to cut the card. If our investment is not working out, Christoph, then you have to move on from it. But we'll
So
see how this Chelsea team look to
my
make
my
out.
my question here with Chelsea making all these signings and I'm not seeing anybody going out. How does the financial fair play work for
Well,
them?
yeah, a number of players are going out. A number
I'm
of
not
players
seeing
are
them.
going out. Gallagher,
For
for example, was sold to
I didn't see
Atletico
Gallagher.
Madrid. Um, a couple players have been transfer listed as well. Shaloba, for example. So moves are being made, maybe not as high profile as we would want, but a number of moves are being made. Fringe players going out, getting a million here, a million there to balance the book. Financial fair play, so to speak. So moves are being made, but obviously the squad is still too big, in my opinion, and the manager definitely has his work cut out for him. A new manager as well, Maresca coming from Leicester City, former assistant to Pep, and he will be under pressure from the get-go. Seeing that Chelsea faces Man City on the opening weekend of football. So that's probably the match to look forward to. But Liverpool, Christoph, under new management as well. Sat. We got the opportunity, Christoph, to see this Liverpool up close and personal versus Real
Real
Betis over there
Betis.
in Pittsburgh. What's your impression of this team? Will they
Um,
be able to challenge for a top four position or even challenge for the title?
if I were to base them off of that performance that we had we had seen, I would have said no. But over the course of the preseason, we did see them get better and grow into it. I mean, we saw Carvalho doing well in the preseason, only to be sold. So I'm a
Yeah,
bit
but I
shocked.
told you I was looking for a player like that to go out. Too much competition ahead of him. And I think Liverpool made a shrewd move in terms of giving him a lot of preseason minutes for him to show his quality, which I am sure fetched them an extra million or two in terms of that transfer fee. So it's not a surprising move for me. He would have just again been another fringe player, and with his age, he needs games under his belt. And I'm sure in that transfer, Liverpool would have embedded a sell-on clause. So just in case he comes good and Fulham cashes in on him, then Liverpool has a decent percentage to get back in their coffers as well. So a move that I support. Liverpool has enough players in the middle of the park to compensate. And to me, he's not gonna really be a big loss per se. He would have been one of those players on the fringes looking in rather than a regular starter week in, week out. But definitely, Christopher, I've been impressed with Sat. Some slight variations in his tactics compared to Klopp, but possibly Liverpool missing key player or two in order to really push Man City and Arsenal. But with a new manager coming in, he should take a fearless approach. So it would not surprise me to see if Liverpool punching above their weight come this season. So definitely a team to look at in terms of what they can produce under this new manager.
What would be punching above Liverpool's weight? Just out
Punching
of
above
curiosity.
Liverpool's weight would be come December, they are fighting for the title. So they are within touching
So, well,
distance of
so
league leaders.
was Liverpool punching above their weight last season?
I would say yes. Based on the number of signings, I felt Liverpool possibly overachieved last season in terms of the running, where at one point it was a three-horse race. To me, Klopp really punched above his weight. Similar to Newcastle, I'm sure you recall that Liverpool came under some serious, was hit with a serious injury bug, especially during that period into that Carling Cup, those 2, 3, 4 weeks thereabouts. And Klopp had to really dig deep into that squad to really get the best out of the team with games coming thick and fast, both in the Europa League as well as in the EPL. And they came about, they came around, still within touching distance of the leaders up there, but it eventually told on them at the end. So if they were to go into a similar fight this season, I would be very optimistic I would say it was a good positive season for them.
I
But what of
think
Manchester United, Christoph?
before
How
we
do you
switch
see
to
United panning out?
before switching to United, I think Liverpool might want to think about replacing the number nine.
Well, I would possibly start Jota. I think enough quality is in the squad to compensate. So Jota would definitely be my number one. So
You
my front line would be Salah, Jota, Diaz. And then, of course, other players like Darwin Núñez, Gakpo rotating in, whether as subs or to alleviate fatigue. But for me, going into this season, my start front three would be Salah, Diaz, and Jota playing through the middle, playing that number nine role.
okay?
Indeed. And United, Christoph, what can we say about Manchester United? And then we take a look at Man City. What of United?
Um,
What are their
I,
prospects?
I don't really have an opinion on United at the moment. I'm not seeing anything where I would say something looks different. I do feel Rasmus Højlund looked somewhat impressive in his preseason before going out injured. So depending on how long that injury is, I think he will be missed. We do see players like Rashford kind of not quite there yet, not finding his form as yet. But we also saw Garnacho doing well in the preseason. He was a bright spot for United last season. And I think United will be relying heavily on him again. I'm surprised they haven't tried to get rid of players like Anthony. And honestly, I would have tried to offload Rashford as well and replace these players with some young, hungry players.
Possibly there are no suitors, no one really looking at these players. They are on big, hefty contracts at Manchester United. And why, as a player, would you want to give up millions? I'm sure any club they move to, their salary is not going to be as big. So, possibly there were no interested parties. Definitely the squad
Send them
needs
to
quality
Saudi.
players, but it is what it is. And we got an opportunity to see them, Christoph, in that Community Shield versus Man City. Not seeing much different in terms of their style of play or even the
Nope.
quality to the team. And Man City looking not necessarily like Man City, but we know Man City is usually slow starters and then they build up a head of steam. And once they build up that head of steam, there seem to be no team in the league currently able to catch them. And it could be another such season. Highland really looking like a dangerous striker, Christoph, and could possibly get that golden boot again. So on
Um,
that note, I mean, who do you
Potentially
who do you see winning the golden boot?
Haaland potentially winning the Golden Boot. He does not look that dangerous to me, however. We saw Haaland was basically anonymous in the Community Shield against United, and
Well, again, we
it's
that's regular Haaland. It was the same thing 2 years ago when he first came in the league, and
fine,
there was
fine,
this big comparison with him and Darwin Núñez. Darwin
fine.
Núñez shone on that day, but
I
subsequently
agree.
has faded.
I agree that he has not shown in any of these Community Shield games that he's played. But I think the bigger concern for Man City is that Haaland has looked rather anonymous playing against quality opposition. We've seen him struggle against Arsenal, we've seen him struggle against Liverpool, struggle against Chelsea, struggling against Madrid. So somebody who you spent a lot of money on, top striker, and not that he won't get goals, he will definitely get goals against the smaller teams, but he's at the moment he's not looking like a game winner when it comes to playing against bigger opposition or big opposition, quality
Well,
opposition.
yeah, well,
It's
I
not the
mean,
first. It's not the first. We've seen it over two
it
seasons
could
for
be a
him.
chink in the Man City armor, potentially. I mean, they have also lost Alvarez to Atletico Madrid as well. Alvarez, the World Cup winner, uh, Copa America winner, one of the winningest players actively in football right now. He has made his move to Atletico Madrid, and there's a big chasm right there in that Man City uh, camp to be filled. So, if Pep is not able to make any signings, that could potentially be a chink in the armor. If Haaland was to go down, let's say, with a medium to long-term injury, that could definitely have a detrimental impact on the fortunes of Man City. But again, it's Pep. he is the best manager in the world currently, if not the best manager to ever grace a football field. So, he oftentimes come up with solution, possibly playing a false nine, Phil Foden up front, false nine, So he has solutions. So I am not very worried, and I'm not too worried if Haaland isn't firing. What I am sure about is that Man City will create opportunity, and I am also sure that Haaland is a quality finisher, so he will get his chances. It's just a
Um,
matter of whether he takes
I
them.
don't think Haaland is probably. I mean, you don't play that many big matches or against that many big teams over the
Well,
course of
time
the
is the
season.
master. Who to tell? He's still
Um,
growing in the role.
I don't think that's Man City's weakness. We know Man City's weakness is in that defensive midfield position where if we know if Rodri goes out injury, they're not winning anything. They're not winning
Well, I
games. They
mean,
will be dropping points.
it's a bad approach to take, though, Christoph. I mean, any team looking to become champions should take the bull by the horn and take it to Man City, and not necessarily banking on players getting injured. You should be looking to
No,
beat these teams when
we're
their
not
best players are available.
we're not saying that teams are looking to beat them when their best players are not available, but it is something to look at for teams who are looking to beat Man City, where Rodri seems to be the key player for Man City over the last 2 seasons.
Right, right. But how do
So,
you get a defensive midfielder out of a game per se when Pep comes up with solution, inverted fullback? So even if you say, okay, all right, I'm gonna man mark Rodri in terms of receiving the ball and starting the attack, you then have fullbacks such as Kyle Walker and okay, and those guys, Stones, inverting and playing out from the back, nevertheless, creating almost like a defensive box right there at the base of your midfield. You can't mark four players, so you stop one gap and another gap opens up. This team is so well drilled. It's really hard to come up with solutions to really nullify or stop this team. And thus far, Christoph, over the last 3-4 years, no team has been able to stop the juggernaut, which is Man City. Can they be stopped? Is the question. Who is your top four, Christoph? Which are the four teams you think will finish in the top four, and in what order? Give us your predictions.
um, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, and maybe Tottenham or Aston Villa at the moment.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with Aston Villa above Tottenham.
so you're looking at Arsenal winning the league then.
Potentially, yes.
Well, this has to be the year. If this is not the year, um, where does Arsenal go from here? That is indeed the question. So
Well,
it
I
will
mean,
definitely be interesting.
to be honest,
This has to be Arsenal's year. There's
even if
no
it
other result.
even if it's not the year, the following year it also looks very strong for them, given that I think there are rumors going around that this is Pep's last season.
Well, again, we can't bank on these things. We have to
Oh no,
control our own destiny.
I'm not banking on it. Arsenal definitely must deliver some silverware this
Well, the,
season.
the league, not just some silverware, they must deliver the
Oh
league.
no, but I'm not saying the league is a must because the board and the fans would probably forgive them for not winning the league if you want something like the Champions League.
Well, we know that outside of Arsenal grasps, I mean, they have never won the Champions League. Why do we think they will win it now?
Uh,
I
teams
don't see that with juggernauts such as Real Madrid, Christoph,
teams who have
Atletico
never won the
strengthening.
Champions League have won it. Man City
Well,
at a
true,
few
but
years ago, Man City has never won the Champions League.
I think Arsenal has a better chance of winning the league when compared to the Champions League, in all honesty. So I think they should prioritize the league and not even the Champions League. I think they should put the EPL as their number one priority. So play their best 11 in the EPL and possibly a mixed bag in the Champions League in order to maximize their chances. That's just personally my feeling. They should definitely prioritize the league. That is what this project has been about. And having come so close in the last 2 years, this has to be the year they put the icing on the cake. So for me, I'm also calling Arsenal to finish second, however. I don't think they will win. I think it is gonna be Man City league again. But again, I feel Arsenal will push Man City very close. I think Liverpool should finish third with the sort of experience they have in their squad and the sort of depth as well. And I am banking on Newcastle, Christoph. Newcastle is my call for finishing fourth. I think playing in Europe will take too much out of Aston Villa, and I feel they may drop off slightly. West Ham, I am calling to be my surprise team of the season, much like Aston Villa, much like Newcastle, of the previous 2 years, which came out of the blue and really put up some really good results. I think West Ham might be the team this year. They've made a number of quality signings. They have brought in a more top-minded coach when compared to Moyes, and they are silently flying under the radar, but they're really putting together a really good squad with the likes of Bowen, who does Paqueta already there, and then of course bringing in German international Fulkirk to lead their line. Antonio possibly now playing a backup role behind Fulkirk. I think this West Ham team might surprise many in terms of where they finish and the sort of results they get. But for me, that's my top four. Man
I
City to
think
win, Arsenal to finish second, Liverpool third, and I think Newcastle for fourth.
okay.
But any final thoughts, Christoph, before we wrap things up?
I mean, I agree with you on the West Ham side that West Ham does look interesting with all these signings and the new manager, but I also think potentially Crystal Palace might also be a team to watch with the appointment of Lopetegui. So it will be interesting to see what the new coach brings to that team. They
Well,
have
Lopetegui is over there in at West Ham. Gazna is over there at Crystal Palace. So
look,
Lopetegui,
okay,
former Spanish Spain coach. Of course, we can
Madrid coach
recall
as
when
well.
he gave up the Spain job to sign with Real Madrid,
No,
only to lose that
I,
coaching job couple months
I,
into the role.
I'm told he was fired from the Spain job for taking the
Well,
Madrid. That's what I recall, him getting
right, but
fired from the
you
Spain
know,
job for taking the Madrid one.
yeah, he did come back to the EPL and coach Wolves, I believe, for a season and a half. Did not do too badly. And now he is now under the employ of West Ham, having replaced David Moyes, who ironically won the Europa Conference League. Christoph, can you imagine winning a trophy and being fired in that very season that you won that trophy? You know, the ball is round, and football seems to be a cruel sport, especially in terms of managerial appointments.
Most
But it
likely his dismissal was already in place regardless of result.
Possibly, but kudos must be given to Miles. Did a fantastic job over there at West Ham, and of course, enhanced his CV by putting the Europa League trophy on it. So, it wouldn't surprise me if the first managerial casualty in the season, which we know is gonna be inevitable, it's just a matter of time, you could possibly see the return of David Moyes at one of these clubs, which find it necessary to fire their manager uh, this season. But we definitely know there will be some managerial casualties, whether sooner or later. But there you have it, viewers and subscribers. The EPL season coming up kicks off this weekend, and we'll be here to bring you some previews and some reviews. We'll be back to preview those opening matches, looking ahead to that Man City versus Chelsea game, and we will be here to really break down and give you some quality analysis. But again, continue to help us to grow, viewers and subscribers, by, of course, sharing, liking, and if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. Thanks again, Krista, for coming through and really sharing in your knowledge. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.